I'm Eileen O'Hara. I'm a Reiki practitioner, a light and energy worker, and a citizen of Earth. I'm also
the queen of rock and roll, Melody Trouble Vixen MTV!
A notorious bad guy from My life is anything but dull. I've had a lot of adventures, and like everyone else, I'm struggling to get through these strange times. So I'm challenging you to become your own best friend. Like any relationship, it takes work. So let's step into the ring and have some fun. This is Wrestling with Your Best Friend. Welcome to Wrestling with Your Best Friend. I'd like to introduce my guest, Kathy Starks. She is a Reiki Master and someone whom I always look to for good advice because she's a generally wise woman. She's also my sister, whom I love dearly. This is Kathy Starks. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. It's just so fun to join you in this effort.
So today we're talking about healthy boundaries. Sometimes these topics can just be abstract, and I'm thinking about it not in a real world perspective, but as just something up here mentally, how these are just within myself, but actually they can be physical. And in my research, oh my goodness, there's like 50 ways you can have a healthy boundary. Your journey for healthy boundaries has taken you to set some personal boundaries within yourself and without. So I'd like to hear a little bit about your take on it and what your journey is entailing.
I have a lot of life experience. I just turned 61, just had my 19th anniversary with my third husband. Of course, lots of relationship things, lots of good experience. I have 3 children and 3 stepchildren and 11 grandkids. So yes, boundaries are something I'm very familiar with working on. I think it really starts with first knowing yourself and knowing what you want. And for a highly sensitive person like myself and many others, as I've learned, 20% of the population is highly sensitive.
Let's define that. I want to stop you right there. Let's define that because we are both HSPs and this is a real category of people, and tell us what that means.
Okay, yes, it's scientifically proven that we have actually sharper senses in the sense of our 5 physical senses. We see more, we hear more, we feel more. Sensations are more pungent and interesting, and we take in more information than the other 80% of the population. Therefore, we're vulnerable to overload, crying at a sunrise or a commercial on TV, or when we see someone being kind to someone else, we're moved to tears. That's one example. Also, walking into a room and knowing who's just experienced something tragic and they're doing their best to cover it up and no one else notices, but we do. Without saying a word, without even looking them in the eye sometimes. It's very real.
You described it to me as if an average person takes in 10 cups of information, the HSP takes in 100. And that's 20% of the population are HSPs.
So we get overloaded. And so personal boundaries start with knowing yourself. And if you find yourself in this category or somewhere in between, there's everything in between, or you find yourself in a situation where you're feeling overwhelmed and overloaded, it's very difficult to tease out those feelings that are truly ours and that we're observing in others. For me, that means carving out a lot of personal space and personal time to recover from that information overload, to process it out, meaning, and I always wondered what processing it out means. That's something I've worked on too. And that's just having quiet meditation time and saying, this is not mine, this is someone else's. Do I need to act? Do I not need to act? And we know if we need to act, we'll feel compelled to do something. If we don't feel compelled to do something, then we just have to take a deep breath and let it go.
Even when feeling compelled to do something, sometimes I know it's not appropriate. And that's got its own challenges. That's a boundary right there. And that's
Right.
got its own challenges too, because you really wanted to do something, but it was so inappropriate and you couldn't.
Right. You can sense someone else's boundaries. They're not ready. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want someone rushing in and throwing their arms around them and saying, oh, they're just like,
Or
leave me.
situationally, it's the CEO and you work in the mailroom. You can't just run up to them and hug them.
Then there's physical boundaries too. I used to work with this guy that would be in my face 2 inches in front of me all the time. And part of it I know was because he couldn't hear very well, but that's not my problem. He invaded my personal space all the time. And I noticed he did that with a lot of people. So I didn't feel like he was personally picking on me, but it made me nuts. I couldn't take it. I didn't like his energy. So finally one day I put my hands on his chest and I pushed him back. And I said, that's 18 inches. I need 18 inches between you and me for us to have a conversation.
Congratulations. That's bold.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think anyone ever did that to him before.
probably not, but it
Yeah.
couldn't take anymore. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's a lot of the motivation for people to establish a boundary of some sort, is because they can't take it anymore.
Right.
Ideally, we want to get there before we're at that point of, I can't take this anymore. And
Yeah.
that's part of, like you said, knowing yourself.
Yeah.
So how
And
does somebody get there to know themselves? I know I need to establish boundaries, but I don't know where to start. How do I start?
first, it starts with examining your self-thoughts, your self-talk in your head. Is it negative? Is it positive? Positive self-talk, you probably have good boundaries of whatever topic or situation it is. You do know yourself, you love yourself there. When you know and love yourself, it's easy to know when someone's crossed a boundary and you need to tell them to back off or remove yourself from the situation. Sometimes it's more appropriate to just remove yourself from the situation. Areas where you're insecure maybe, or not sure about yourself, or you haven't explored certain things, you haven't opened those boxes in your mind, those are areas to really examine yourself. I've read so many self-help, self-improvement books, educating yourself. Really, it's taking time to take a deep breath and say, okay, how do I feel right now? Am I feeling confused? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling threatened? Am I feeling joy? Am I feeling excited? And why? It's really self-analysis, getting information. Like, I don't know why that person scares me, or I don't know why Aunt June always makes me feel insecure. It's taking the time to really examine uncomfortable feelings.
For me, it's these two questions. What is bothering me and why? Those are pretty much the two that get me to where I'm like, oh, that's what's going on. That's why I'm feeling so sad. This is bothering me. Okay, it's buried grief and I need to let that go, or feel the grief and move through it to get to the other side, or feel the pain of that betrayal and the anger. And I was carrying rage inside of me and I had no idea. And I had to get through that and go, there's still some rage there. Okay, I need to let that go and move through it, because it's so long ago and it's over. I call them packages, you called them boxes, but it's still opening a container inside yourself and looking at it honestly.
Yeah, and sometimes you need to get counseling, and I've had counseling on many occasions. I've had cards read. I'm also a shaman, and that helped me learning how to journey, do shamanistic journeying, and let your spirit guides and animals help you find answers deep buried within yourself. It's really amazing. Whatever, and if you're not into that, prayer, really deep prayer with your maker. It's the time to really go inside and find those answers. They'll come.
We're talking quiet, deep reflection with your spiritual entity, whether that meditation, reflection, prayer, true quiet time. And that requires quiet time.
It does. And that is a boundary that I did want to discuss. Carving out your own personal quiet time, even if it's just to let thoughts bubble around in your head and come to the surface and you go, oh, there's a thought, and you let it go. That is really, for your mental health and for your sanity during these crazy, crazy times, super important to do it once a day if you can, more if you can. Get up a half an hour earlier, or before you get in bed, sit in a chair with some quiet time just to reflect and to have that.
Or schedule it on your calendar if you're a calendar person.
You know, I have two journals. One that I write my daily, what I've gone through, what's happening. And then my other journal is one that I just scratch out, scribble, angry, frustrated, sad, joy, whatever, garbage, to just let it out of my head. And then I read it again, wad it up and chuck it.
That's awesome. That's a really good tool.
It is.
Just like a free mind dump of whatever's going on.
Exactly. It's so helpful. Otherwise, those thoughts can get trapped in your body and manifest as pain or sluggishness and fatigue.
I understand. No, that happens to me. It gets trapped in there as depression.
Exactly. And it needs to come out.
It does. With me, it's usually my talk with myself saying, all right, what's bothering you and why? Being quiet, like you said, being quiet and letting that come to the surface. Then I can open that package and look at it and go, oh, okay, that's what it is. Let me just bless and release. We have this thing we call bless and release that we practice.
Absolutely.
Something that's giving us pain. We look at it, we bless it, and then release it. And then it's gone.
Blessing for me means saying, okay, there's a gift of a lesson there. Or maybe it's not a lesson, but it's, okay, I need to change my relationship. Or I need to change how I communicate with this person. Or maybe I just need to let that person go, or whatever it is, the scenario.
Also, though, this is something very personal, and you just made a major milestone with a boundary within yourself, changing a behavior. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that just kind of popped in my head too. So boundaries with ourselves. A word of wisdom from my own daughter, who's also an HSP. She reminds me that self-care is not self-indulgence. When it tends to be harmful or causing you to not deal with, it's easy to just check out, binging on TV day after day after day, or substance abuse. For HSPs, it's very tempting to drink alcohol or take a drug of choice or any kind of behavior that's kind of obsessive and draws you away from feeling your feelings, helping you sort of numb out. And numbing out really isn't the best way to deal with your problems. So I had been drinking too much alcohol. I didn't really understand that. So I thought, okay, I realized since I retired in December, thinking, oh, I have all these great travel plans. It's going to be such a fun life. And then the COVID hit. And now I'm stuck home wondering, what is my purpose? All these things that I had planned got canceled. All these, suddenly I have a lot of time on my hands, which is, what I wanted so very badly. But I ended up in a very, very strong pattern of drinking every day, every evening to numb out the pain, the confusion, all the crap that's going on in the media, the political pressure, the ads, everything. It just builds up. And that was a really nice little thing for me. So I thought. Anyway, but then I realized, my health is beginning to suffer. As you age, you can't process alcohol like you used to when you were young, or, anything really. Foods, sugar, anything, we just get to that point. So even, it might not be alcohol. It might be that, that nightly box of cookies, 3 bags of popcorn every day, whatever it is that you're overindulging in. So I decided, okay, I'm going to cut back. And that evening would come, I'd have my glass of wine, think, well, I'll have another, tomorrow I'll cut back. And that went on and on for months.
Wow.
And finally realized there's inflammation growing in my body. I've cleaned up my diet and I'm still having trouble. It must be the wine and the alcohol. It must be. And I really need to give it a break to see. So I did. I just said, all right, I've had my last glass. And that's it. I'm done. I'm going to give myself 30 days off and see if I feel better. And after the first week, fighting, well, not really necessarily fighting cravings. I'm doing it for my health, but the craving would come up and I would have to dismiss it and deal with it. So I started reading books and blogs. And oh my goodness, there's so much great information out there.
Books and blogs on this subject of ending alcohol.
Right. And this most recent one that I just read is The Naked Mind by Annie Grace. So she talks about everything that happens inside your brain as your mind becomes addicted first to alcohol or drugs, any substance. Your brain has dopamine is a learning hormone in your brain. You get a feel-good hit, but it's saying, oh, do that again. And time after time, when you stop doing the sugar or you stop doing the alcohol or whatever it is that you're trying to stop doing, your brain still has that pattern of, wait, you missed that. You're supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to have a glass of wine right now. Maybe you should have more. So that it's just a pattern in your brain that gets set up, and it takes time for that pattern to subside. And it doesn't disappear. It just goes back to the back in the recesses like an old memory. So that's why you have to stop drinking and never drink again. But to get there, yeah, I know I had to tell myself, it's just temporary. I'm just going to take some time out. But then I found the health benefits were amazing. I feel so much better. And I just finished a little trip with a few friends on a houseboat. A few friends that I would normally have been really partying hard with. Never touched a drop.
Wow. Congratulations.
So much fun. I had a great time. I love my friends. They were fun to hang out with. But when it was time for me to go to bed, I just went on to bed, and I woke up the next morning feeling so great. And everybody's walking around. Oh. And I'm just like, anybody want to get in the kayak? It's been a great journey that way. And understanding it is a boundary you have to set with yourself. There's a reason why it's so hard. Yeah. And it takes effort. So I'm on day 36 with no alcohol. And yeah, I had one glass and it made me sick. About my 10th day in, and I got so sick and felt so horrible, and I was so mad at myself that it wasn't worth it. It's truly poison to me now.
Well, it is poison because that's what gets you high. Your body dealing with the poison of the alcohol.
Yeah.
That's why you're intoxicated, is because your body's trying to get rid of that poison. Wow, that's profound.
And the other thing that goes hand in hand with that is, okay, the other deal I made with myself is that I've got to process these feelings. I can't avoid them. There's no dodging feelings. There's no dodging being tired at the end of the day. Stopping and saying, I'm having some feelings about this. This is giving me anxiety. Or that's so sad, or boy, that was cool. But I feel my feelings more intensely now, but they're short-lived and they pass, and I'm good and I move on, and I don't have a need to try and dodge them or dismiss them or make them, dial down a little bit. It's like, it's okay. Go ahead and cry. Go ahead. And I laugh so much more. Laughing is good.
Yeah, I had a physical boundary that I had to establish with myself, and it was with anger. Because I have arthritis in my neck, I can't get angry anymore, because if I get angry, I hold my anger in my neck and shoulders and I constrict that. Well, with arthritis, it starts to lock up and I get a migraine. Oh, I was even going to the point of vertigo because I was holding that anger. So my choices were either deal with it or let it go. I can't get angry, because if I get angry, it physically harms me. So I have to either deal. These are my choices. Hey, girlfriend, deal with it or let it go. And it's that simple. It's a simple choice, but it took a while to get there. And if I start to get angry and start to feel that, I'm like, oh, no. Either face it and deal with it, or face it and let it go.
No, congratulations. I mean, that's such a tremendous link to make. Observing yourself. That's part of knowing yourself.
Well, I got tired of having vertigo and having the room spin around.
A lot of people go running to the doctor and take a prescription. They don't say, why did I get vertigo? You made that association.
Yeah.
It's a loving gift to give to yourself.
I had to do it. Like you said, you can't stand it anymore. You can't take the result. There's two questions. What is making me feel this, and why?
And I'm not trying to knock medication. Sometimes we need it and we have to have it, and it gives us some time to heal. But you got to still do the work like you just did.
Yes.
And maybe you won't have to be on that medication the rest of your life if you find a way to process that out. That's exactly what processing that out means. And I also listened to a series on critical thinking. which gave me a tremendous amount of freedom emotionally. Critical thinking is not believing everything you just heard. Like, you question everything I just said. You know, the audience should question everything we just said and what it means to them. Anything you hear on the news, anything you hear from someone else, flags that are flying, the messages being broadcast, the way we're being pressured politically to choose a team and fight. So unnecessary. We're all humans. We all have the same basic need.
And we're all on this same spinning world together. Everything we do and say and think affects everyone else.
You know, that pressure, you should question that. Why do we have to choose a team? Why do we have to think one guy is good and one guy is bad? We don't. Yeah, we've got an opportunity to vote coming up. So just go vote. You know, we don't have to go through all of this stuff trying to convince everyone else and ourselves what is true and what isn't true. Question that stuff. Where's that information coming from? Are there other resources? Maybe check several sources to see if there's a pattern of truth there. Or is it just scrambled sensationalism? That's what critical thinking is.
Yeah, the habit of years is hard to break. Doing things the way we've always done them because we were raised that way, or just something that we've developed because it's convenient, like coming home, plopping down, turning on the TV, instead of taking a walk or doing the things that are going to be healthiest for us.
Right.
But you broke a habit of years and you cultivated new behavior and you feel so much better for it.
I feel a freedom. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I feel like I've gained so much more quality of life back.
I had a bad habit of eating sugar. That was what I partnered with, because sugar doesn't reject you. It makes you feel good at the moment. Alcohol doesn't reject you. It makes you feel good at the moment. Whatever it is that you're partnering with, binging a TV show, because you can get your satisfaction from watching those characters do things. I don't have to feel these things. These characters feel these things for me. It was hard to break that habit, and I feel so much better.
A thought keeps popping in my head, this phrase that from The Naked Mind, and she said, you're always chasing the high. What you're experiencing at that moment is the relief of your brain's like, okay, I got what I've been pinging you for. The actual high from the alcohol comes after, I don't know, however much it takes to give you the high. But then it dissipates within 20 minutes. And then you drink more to try and find another high. So you're chasing the high. Just knowing that they're just chemicals in your brain making you chase the high. When you know, so much of the rest of you knows it's not good for you. So, when you have that cognitive dissonance of part of you knows that this is bad and another part of you wants it, then that's when you really need to sit down. That's the part about being kind and knowing yourself and making a change so that you no longer have that cognitive dissonance and everything inside you is...
What is cognitive dissonance? Just to define that.
Okay, from what I understand of it, an example with the alcohol and me sitting down at 5 o'clock saying, I'm just going to have one glass, because part of me wants that. And there's another part of me saying, okay, just one, because any more than that would be bad. Well, then the one goes down and then it's like, just one more. Now, this part of your brain that wants it is like, yay. The other part is going, you need to stop. This is wrong. You need to stop. This is going to make you sick. But you keep going. So that's cognitive dissonance.
It's an argument inside your brain.
Yes.
Well, is there anything else you want to discuss about boundaries and personal boundaries and the benefits?
Yes. It's such an important thing and such a respectful thing to do for ourselves. And when we have good, healthy boundaries, only then can we be strong for others, and only then do we have the confidence to step in and lead, and only then do we have the ability to, make a difference in someone else's life. It kind of always goes back to do your work first. Then you're fit enough to help others at whatever level you're at. Those that need your help will be drawn to you.
Well, thank you for those words of inspiration, oh wise one. You're always someone I turn to for wisdom. Sure, others will hear this message. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope that it is helpful for someone. And I love you.
I love you too, honey. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Boundaries are not easy, and you have to put in the work. If you need help, help is available at thehotline.org. Their number is 800-799-7233. They also have a 24/7 chat. I believe that establishing healthy boundaries can help us be our own best friend and live a kinder, more loving life for ourselves and those we care about. Together, we can create a world where we all get the kindness and respect we deserve. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Are you ready for the wrap up? Come on, here we go. Stand up and fight the good fight, not just an idea. It's a right. With a healthy personal boundary, we're getting the respect for you and me. Woo! That's our show for today. Thank you for the gift of your time. If you like what you heard, please click those like and subscribe buttons. I want to remind everyone that the opinions expressed on today's show belong entirely to those expressing them. You can leave your comments on Melody Trouble Vixen at Outlook.com or right here on the YouTube channel, Melody Trouble Vixen. Until next time, keep
Wrestling with your best friend.